Hello, everyone. For a read aloud, I'm actually going to be working on several read alouds because I had several of them, the books that I gave you, they were tied. So this is going to be chapter 1 of Mary Downing Hahn's Closed for the Season. Ooh, scary. All right, so we are going to start with chapter 1. By the time Dad pulled into the driveway of our new house, all I wanted was to go inside and jump in the shower. If we had a shower, that is, or even any water. Dad warned us that the house needed a lot of work, but the place was in worse shape than I'd imagined. Old and run down, paint peeling and flaking, a broken downspout dangling from the eaves, old papers littering the porch. The grass was at least 2 feet high, choked with towering thistles and milkweed. The bushes and trees had a wild, shaggy look. Mom, who described it as a quaint Victorian cottage with tons of potential, grew strangely quiet at the sight of it. Dad took one look, sighed, and opened the car door. It seems the realtor forgot to mention to have someone mow the lawn. He shook his head and sighed again. It's a good thing I don't start teaching until fall. We have some time to get the place in shape. Please don't tell me that this is our house, I said to Mom. We aren't really going to live here. It's Dad's idea of a joke, right? Making an effort to infuse her voice with enthusiasm, Mom said, For heaven's sake, Logan, wait till it's painted and the lawn's cut. It will be adorable. With a cynical sigh, I followed my parents toward the front door. A black mutt about the size of a German shepherd watched us from the front porch. Mom edged behind Dad, but there was no need to be scared. The dog got to his feet and wagged his tail as if he were greeting old friends. Does he come with the house? I asked. Mom eyed the dog as if she suspected his friendliness was an act. I think he belongs to the people next door. As if on cue, a boy appeared at the hedge separating his yard from ours. His name's Bear, he said. Part Rottweiler, part Lab. He used to belong to the lady who lived in your house, but now he's mine and Grandma's. The boy and I stared at each other over the low hedge. He was shorter than I was, younger too, probably no more than 11. His straight yellow hair hung in his eyes and straggled down the back of his neck. His glasses were held together with tape, and he wore a faded T-shirt big enough for Dad that said, Minzer's Hardware. If we don't have it, you don't need it. I've been waiting all day for you. The boy frowned as if he expected me to apologize for inconveniencing him. Grandma was sure you'd be here by noon, and it's almost 6 o'clock. He held up a skinny arm to show me the time on an enormous watch that was way too big for his bony wrist. I've been trapped in the back seat of an unair-conditioned car for almost 2 hours. The temperature was over 90. I was hot, I was tired, and I was really in a bad mood. I definitely did not feel like being friendly, especially with such a weird-looking kid. My name's Arthur Jenkins, the boy went on. What's yours? Logan Forbes. I glanced over my shoulder, hoping to see Mom and Dad beckoning me to come inside and help unpack or something, but no one was in sight. Now, if I wanted to stay outside and talk to Arthur Jenkins, you can bet my parents would have been hollering at me to get my butt in the house. How old are you? Arthur asked. Without giving me a chance to answer, he said, I'm almost 12. Next fall, I'll be in 6th grade at Oakview Middle School. You can't really see any oaks from there because they cut them all down to build a bunch of big, expensive houses. Fair Oaks, it's called, in memory of the trees, I guess. Mostly, everyone our age lives there. They're all snobs. I turned 13 last month, I said. I'll be in the 7th grade, a whole year ahead of you. Arthur shrugged. We can be friends anyway, living so close. He paused to see if I knew what he was talking about. In case I didn't, he added, Oh, well, that just means that we live near each other. Also, kinship and similarity in nature. He flashed a crooked grin. I have the biggest vocabulary in my grade. I'm also the best speller and the best reader. I read 503 books for last year's readathon. Not Dr. Seuss either. Thick ones, like Harry Potter books. I won so much free pizza, I don't even like the way it smells anymore. While Arthur bragged, I looked longingly at the house. I could hear Dad hammering, but no one came to the door to call me inside. Arthur pulled a stick of gum out of his pocket. Without offering me any, he stuffed it in his mouth. I watched him chew with lip-smacking relish, blow a big bubble, and suck it in slowly back into his mouth. When he was ready to talk again, he said, "You've got some nice furniture. Expensive," Grandma says. "We watched the moving men carry it in yesterday. How big is your TV screen? I've never seen one that size, except in a store down at Peckman Mall." I shrugged and glanced at our house, still hoping someone would rescue me from Arthur. Grandma and I didn't think anybody was ever going to buy the old Mrs. Donaldson's place. Arthur went on. "It's been empty for almost 3 years. I guess the real estate company was hoping some folks from out of town like y'all would buy it without knowing what happened in it." He paused to blow another bubble. "What do you mean?" I asked, curious in spite of myself. "What happened in our house?" He leaned over the hedge. His face got so close that I could smell his gum. "Mrs. Donaldson died there. She was murdered." "Murdered?" I stared at Arthur, shocked. "No way." "Ask Grandma. She was the one who found her." His eyes widened behind the smeared lenses of his glasses. In a low voice, he went on with what I hoped was a story that he had concocted just to scare me. "One night, Bear woke up Grandma and me, barking like he had gone crazy or something. We both kept hoping he'd shut up so we could go back to sleep. But he didn't stop. Finally, Grandma went downstairs and I followed her. Bear was at the back door making a horrible fuss." Arthur paused and glanced at the dog, who'd raised his head at the mention of his name. "Mrs. Donaldson never let him out unless he was on a leash," Arthur went on. "Not only that, his head was bleeding, like somebody had whacked him hard enough to kill an ordinary dog." He paused again, and I found myself staring at Bear, who was now scratching his ear. Arthur sighed. "Grandma and I knew something was wrong. It was one of those weird feelings. You know what I mean?" I nodded, like it was a movie, when the music gets scary and you can tell something bad is going on. "Exactly." Arthur crossed his arms across his skinny little chest and took a deep breath. "Grandma told me to stay inside while she ran to Mrs. Donaldson's house. The back door was wide open and the kitchen was a wreck. Drawers emptied out, stuff strewn everywhere, furniture turned over. Bear ran down the cellar steps, whining and crying, and Grandma followed him. Mrs. Donaldson was laying on the floor, dead." Despite the warm summer sun, goosebumps raced up and down my arms. Maybe she just fell down the steps. Maybe even the police said it was murder, Arthur interrupted me. "Somebody broke in and killed her. Then they tore the whole place apart. Not just the kitchen, but every room, including the attic. They were looking for money, I guess." I glanced at Bear, who had gone back to sleep on our porch. "Is he really her dog?" "Mrs. Donaldson loved that dog, and he loved her. He must have done his best to protect her, but—" Arthur shrugged. "The cops were going to take him to the pound, but Grandma said we'd keep him. The sad thing is he spends more time at your house than ours. I guess he's hoping Mrs. Donaldson will come back someday." While Arthur talked, I found myself staring at my new home. Before I'd learned its gruesome secret, it had seemed like an ordinary little house, kind of homely and run down. Now it had a sinister look, as if it were hiding behind overgrown trees and bushes, keeping dark, scary secrets. At that same moment, a woman appeared on Arthur's porch. Like him, she was skinny as a stick. Her hair was blonde or white, I wasn't sure which, and it stuck up like a cockatoo's crest. Her eyebrows were black, drawn on a little too high, which gave her face a startled look. I didn't have any idea how old she was. Anywhere from middle-aged to ancient was the closest I could guess. "Hello there," she called to me. "Welcome to Bealsville. I'm Arthur's granny, Darla Jenkins. Tell your folks I'll come on over for a visit after they get settled." And then to Arthur she said, "Dinner's ready, Artie. Come on in and wash up." "See you later." Without another word, Arthur ran to his house, which was smaller and in worse need of paint than ours. Taking the sagging steps 2 at a time, he yanked open the screen door and disappeared. In the sudden silence, I heard his grandmother say, "Arthur Jenkins, how often must I tell you not to slam that door?" I headed for our house, eager to confront Mom and Dad with the truth of our new home.